Heyo people. There's a lot to like about the changes they made to Aura Kingdom when they remade it into Aura Kingdom Impact, but they also laid out some goals about freshening up the gameplay that I think they have not made good on, and frankly, I don't find it enjoyable enough to keep going. Everything I love about the game I already got from the OG one, and I don't feel like the new one is providing enough change to make it worth continuing both. I'm going to take this time to talk about what I like, then my gripes, and I hope you can use that to determine whether or not Aura Kingdom Impact or the original Aura Kingdom would be an enjoyable way to spend your time. And I would love to hear what you think about this, and the game in general too. I thought about this for a few weeks, and adding notes as things came up, but I'm sure I missed some stuff, and you've got your own thoughts as well. I'd love to hear them. Anyway, we can start with the good. I still like how the gameplay feels to play. That goes for both games. I don't know how to really explain this in an objective way, but the running and jumping and dodging while actively fighting just hits the right way. A well-timed gap closer, then to quickly circle out of the way of an AoE and get in some backstrikes is just satisfying. That goes for both versions of Aura Kingdom. But comparing that to something like Blue Protocol that just came out, what is it but, again, stand still, use skills, move when you're about to get hit. Even if there are some more involved mechanics on the bosses, it just doesn't feel good to play to me. Anyway, back to Aura Kingdom. I like being able to teleport right into the instances even alone. The new dungeon interface is great. The one way I would improve it would be to introduce a system to queue up a bunch of dungeons and then go straight from one to the next for a real chill, cool, lean back and play with a controller kind of night when I don't want to fuss about with the menus. Not needing to level up another character to use another class is also great, though a little rough in the implementation since you still need to replace all your secret stones, which is such a fuss that I actually don't bother anymore, for reasons I'll get to below. If they added the secret stones to a 4th gear window and let us auto-swap them with the main class too, I think I wouldn't have any other complaints about the mechanical function of changing class. Tons of little quality of life stuff has been added too. Little things like eidolons only showing items you can currently feed them so you don't need to scroll, mass opening defaulting to the full stack prompt so you only have to click one more time instead of twice, and the auto item use tool is everything I wanted it to be. I love how it was implemented. Great work there. Maybe a tiny improvement would be, instead of auto discard, it would be great if it was auto sell. It would make the low level dungeon quick runs even better since you could take a little profit but not stuff your inventory. But these small comforts do not do much for me in the big picture. I've been playing OG Aura Kingdom for 10 years. I can handle the janky parts just fine. And I would love to see those implemented into the original Aura Kingdom, and by all means X-Legend, please do. But the current systems in OG weren't make or break for all that time, and the good changes in Impact aren't either. So, first off, I'm gonna complain about the main gameplay, dungeons, and main quest. Specifically, a few of their intentions I feel were not delivered on. And to start, they said they wanted to change the repetitiveness, but so far none of the mechanics are functionally different aside from the 2 one-time instances in Port Scandia. From what I can tell, what they've added more widely across the game is just Berserk mode, where if you don't beat the bosses within a minute, they start getting stacks that make them deal more and take less damage. That's not a mechanic, that's a stat check, and I'm not defending OG here. Its stat checks are usually dungeon-wide in the form of countering debuffs before you even start fighting, and if you don't have enough pen, you're just SOL. And sure, they said they wanted to break out of main quest locked zones, but you still are basically main quest locked, just not for dungeons. You can't access the maps to do gathering, cooking, or fishing, or whatever else you want until you finish the main quest. And there's high incentive to do the main quest even on your alts anyway, even if you could elevator them through levels with power carries or hand-me-down gear, because you need them backpacks, because they're too expensive in LP. Anyway, in terms of the main daily gameplay loop, no resets means you have much more limited runs to gain resources. In old AK, with resets, you could never ever run every single dungeon possible in a day. In Impact, it feels like a loss if you don't run everything that gets you G, especially as a free-to-play player, because at the same time as restricting dungeon entries, they made gear fortification cost gold, and lots of it. So, I feel I have to run everything, including Alabastrin, which is a level 30 dungeon and gives me trash items only worth selling to NPCs, because I need the LP and gold to keep trying to fortify my endgame gear, instead of running a few dungeons around my level plus bonds in Gaia, which is my normal OG loop. Here, I'm stuck feeling like I'm losing massively for not having time to do everything. And then, The fort and eidolon modes feel like a bit of a joke. Like, I'm glad they added the teleport since there's no mobs, but I'm still fussing with the menu and running more than fighting. Just sweep them, then, I'm sure you'll say. You can just sweep them and get all the stuff in less time. It's only 100 LP. And yeah, I use sweep cards, but why would I use them on the shorter dungeons? If I budget some LP daily for sweep cards, it should go to the dungeons that take more time. At least they're free-to-play friendly for cost, but you get less items and you're spending one of the most important currencies on not playing the game. You know your game is doing something wrong when you can buy items to not play it because the dungeons are so non-rewarding, but you still need to hit them daily. And the drop rates, the drop rates. I already know they're bad because I've played Aura Kingdom for 10 years. I wasn't expecting better. But when one of the most useful drops from dungeons, the weapon gems, are all non-tradable, as a free-to-play, it feels so demotivating. You can't even try to turn a profit from a lucky nab. All you can do is sadly compare and try to decide if your evasion level 70 stone is really better than your HP level 60 stone. As for the other rare drops, like the cards or accessories from the dragons, well, no one in my parties has ever gotten any, and I tend to go full runs without getting any emblems even. Next, the controversial but exciting choice to remove lifesteal effects from all parts of the game. I don't hate it in concept, but it feels bad. Maybe that's from the 10 years of using it, but classes have such miserable self-sustain as it is, you're kind of restricted to playing sub-bard since you have 0 sustain beyond potions, and those potions cost G that you need to be spending on fortification if you ever want to actually be able to contribute to your party, which you can't do if you're dead, so you play sub-bard. And that's not getting better because they have also said they intend to tune the stats of new dungeons according to how the community is as a whole, which means that if you're playing casually, you are going to be massively outmatched versus players that have those stat point titles that have been in the gambling tables. Like, okay, my stats aren't amazing, but in a level 70 dungeon, with level 70 plus 30 armor, a plus 30 lance weapon, damage versus fire art, in pyroclastic or whatever name they gave it, I shouldn't be stuck doing negligible damage to bosses with a whole party's worth of debuffs on him. There's a conversation to be had about whether a game should cater to those who go the hardest or accommodate more casual players, and I think there's a balance that is hard to strike, but a full team of free-to-play and max-forted armor at the same level as the dungeon would only be tickling the boss, and that's a problem. And now I'm going to whine about the gear system. Gold does not feel like a resource to trade other players in Aura Kingdom Impact, because as a free-to-play, I can never build up enough to do that. I have received presents of lump sums of gold which I would have refused outright and sent back over in OG Aura Kingdom that I could not help but take, because I just cannot keep up with the gear. If you're going to stop here to comment about how hard it is to gear up as a new player in OG Aura Kingdom, I will remind you that I played a completely fresh account on OG Aura Kingdom and beat Awakening without spending as much gold as I spent on fortifying one piece of level 80 gear in Aura Kingdom Impact. It is massively more new player and gold friendly in that regard. Here's my personal experience in Aura Kingdom Impact. I got more than 1,000 gold from a friend to help acquire the pet, emblem, etc. for Dark Element to go all in on bow when it came out. I started saving up LP for a 4-star Alucard for dark damage. I got given fire emblems to use for the secret stone since I couldn't get enough from my own runs and couldn't run it every day. I personally saved up over 3,000 gold, all the while tickling bosses with my unfinished lightning build. I also spent 100 G above my savings per day on forts for maxing out my level 70 armor. Then they dropped Lance instead. So I decided, well, better go all in on that then, because I can't spend more time doing no damage with a million gear score. Even not replacing my armor, which is still level 70, 3000 G was not enough to fort a level 80 weapon and 3 level 80 accessories. It was just not enough. And that represents 3 weeks of work. In another 3 weeks, we'll have a new class, level 90 armor, level 90 trophies, level 90 accessories, and the bosses will be stronger, because those that could get their gear up will be signaling to Exa-Legend the bosses need to be harder. You just need a nice jackpot item to sell, you might think. But what would that be? Anything in dungeons isn't worth anything, and they made the choice to make the gambling table lock all items you use free-to-play currency on to non-tradable. So here I am, sitting on 2 Guan Yu fragments because I can't sell them and I can't afford to finish her key. Oh, and that's because one day I bought the ridiculously priced 30 Rainbow Gem pack to roll and got 2 costume items. 1 land on Guan Yu, and then a whole lot of charms. And yeah, that was a terrible use of my LP. I haven't rolled the table since. I can't finish my gear because I can't buy stone shuffles off other players because I can't build up G because everything is a gold sink. And then they had the costume stats and the mount stats as cash only, which then need more gold and stuff to scrap to use. Ugh, I need more LP. We need way too much LP. It feels more like a taunt to have that shop there at times. Like, yes, it's technically possible to do basic secret stone shuffling, but no, I can't do that because I need the eidolons. So let's talk about them. I won't even go into how nerfed the stats are. All stats for everything are nerfed, and you need more stats to hit percent caps. That's its whole own thing. Not even going there today. But for eidolons themselves, the basic ones are space fillers. You can get hundreds of fragments for them easily if you bash your way through eidolon instances. Next, you have spawn after chest eidolons, which are fine, whatever. But because you have 2 dungeon entries, you have limited encounter chances. I still haven't even seen Hansel and Gretel. Do they even still spawn? Someone told me they do. Next you have the LP eidolons, which are super expensive to max out, as you need 10 keys total to do that, which is 99,000 LP. And then of course, the cash eidolons, but I can't even comment because I can't afford to buy them off other players and I won't be running a gambling table anymore. And though beads and rings needed for 4-star to get the most out of them are in the LP store, you need a total of 49,000 worth of those resources for 4-star. That means roughly 150,000 LP to max them out. The cap for LP is still 99,000 by the way. And that sucks because the most fun thing about the game so far, for me, has been seeing how the infusions change classes. I adore Tyr's insane infusion, which is, by the way, being nerfed again. Infusions have so much potential and crazy things you can do with them, but if you have to spend 150,000 LP for the ones that actually have fun effects, assuming they even add any more LP eidolons in the future, that is absolutely not in the realm of viability for players like me that don't have hours and hours a day to dedicate. Having them get nerfed after all that work when they decide they don't like how it's being used sucks too. I hear that Vermilion's infusion, added to a healing skill at 4 stars, instantly stacks the 3 tunes needed for max buff because it technically counts as being 3 times the skill. That's awesome! And completely not viable for a casual player to get. And it's just gonna get worse as more are added that have crazy interactions with skills like that. But midday, you cry. You have 2 4-star eidolons. You managed even if you did spend 70,000 on those silly rainbow coins once. No, I didn't. I didn't manage. Both of my 4-star eidolons, Tyr and Alucard, were only possible with the help of other players. Cleft and Lunar sent me supplies for free. I really appreciate it, but it's not like everyone is getting presents in the mail. The players of Aura Kingdom Impact have been so kind, generous, and have given me way more than I deserve. As a community, you guys are all great. I bet if you find a guild that doesn't have a terrible leader, you will have a ton of fun, provided some of those players are quite hardcore and can do the heavy lifting so you don't need to run the entire length of Frozen Lay playing 7 times to kill a boss that drops nothing good. Deep breath. My current gameplay cycle in Aura Kingdom Impact on workdays is thus. Log in. Dimensional Hall, 14 solo sweeps, run 10 party dungeons for LP and gold, run down the enhancement dungeons, then use all that gold to maybe get +2 on some part of my gear if I'm lucky. I have a job, and especially when I'm on call, it's hard to join in a full dungeon run in case I have to leave at the drop of a hat, but it's not worth it for those players to recruit individually for one dungeon because then they're locked out of a full run if they want to join one. My verdict is that Aura Kingdom Impact has a path for free-to-play players who have a bunch of free time and like having a big chunk of dailies to chew on and get done. But it's really hard to recommend for anyone even slightly casual about it. An hour a day is not going to cut it to keep up. You have no way to contribute besides debuffs, which I joked about on stream, but it feels really bad. I still like the aesthetic, I still like the combat, I still like leaning back and running dungeons for an hour. It just feels so empty when I know all those gains will turn into 300 potential forts on accessories that I'll have to replace in a month. When I can get that same dungeon satisfaction in OG Aura Kingdom, where there's at least a chance of hitting like an S30 weapon drop or a bond trophy. For new players who like the look of the game or the feel of the combat, catching up into the endgame of OG Aura Kingdom will take more time, but it doesn't have the same frenetic pace of new base gear that will cost more than my paltry 3000 G to make usable every 3 weeks. In Impact, it feels like my progress and efforts are getting thrown down the drain too fast. Do I spend another 3 months doing 1 million damage to bosses with more than 100 million HP while I save resources for level 90? I don't think that's fun. So, no. I don't think I will. And that's not to say OG Aura Kingdom doesn't have gear issues before anyone brings it up. I hate all the gambling tables, super OP holy spirits, and trophies. It's not perfect either. But yeah, I will be dropping Aura Kingdom Impact for now. So, is Aura Kingdom Impact for you if you're a free-to-play player? I don't know. I think it's the right game for someone who has a lot more time to play than I do. But this is just how I feel after playing for a few months. Maybe I just got too used to playing on my own terms, soloing in OG Aura Kingdom when I wanted something, and running with a friend at a set time when we're both available. Maybe if you have a more consistent party, you can get resources more efficiently, but for me, right now, something has got to give. I just cannot keep up. I need to drop some stuff so I can work on things I am excited to do. Aura Kingdom Impact, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. As for Blue Protocol Star Resonance, I'm gonna give it a proper shot as well, but some of the systems there, especially the life skills, are so much of a boring slog that I thought there must be a built-in botting mode to make it less suffering, based how many bots I've seen in the 3 days the game's been out at time of writing. Anyway, thanks for stopping by and hearing me out. I'd love to hear what you think of what I've said here. Catch you next time.